Welcome back to another episode of Saline Speaks. I'm Chase Stanton, the station manager here at SCTN, and today I'm joined by new Police Chief Jared Hart. We're going to talk a little bit about his history, his career, and what drew him to apply in Saline. So thank you very much for being here.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So I guess, just to jump right in, if you want to kind of give the breakdown of your career, your past jobs.
Yeah, I was in junior high when I decided to be a police officer. We had a career day. A Taylor police officer, I grew up in the city of Taylor, had come out and had a great display of, what the job was about, his uniform, and just helping people, and that message really resonated with me. So I finished out my junior high and high school career with, my eye on law enforcement. I attended Ferris State University for my undergrad, and in 1991 I graduated from there with my Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice. And within 2 months, I had a job at the Novi Police Department, worked patrol there. I did some motor carrier work, and eventually landed one of in my opinion, one of the most coveted positions you can have in law enforcement. It's not a canine position. It's not working dope. It was being a school resource officer.
Okay.
So I was able to start that program in the city of Novi with all of the Novi schools. I had an office at Novi High School. So I was in there for 4 years, and once I came out of the schools, I promised that I would see a freshman class through and got the program started. Then I took a job in our investigative section where I worked everything from larceny complaints to homicides on the occasion that they did happen, and helped some other communities out with their homicide investigations. So after about 4 years of that, I started taking those promotional tests and took my first promotion as a sergeant and went to the midnight shift. So I spent a couple years on midnights working with a great group of women and men at the Novi Police Department. And then took another promotional test and was promoted to lieutenant in 2010, and led 4 sergeants and about 26 police officers at that point in the patrol division. And then in 2012 I had an opportunity to take a position outside of the union in an administrative capacity as Assistant Chief of Police over Support Services. And that's where I finished out my career, retiring December 15th of 2017. When I retired, I was in charge of our investigative section, our record section, our training section, and our dispatch center, and our budget analysts, so the budget for the police department.
Wow.
So it was a lot of responsibility, it was a lot of fun, and made a lot of good friends along the way. And as most police officers have throughout their career, you see some very horrible things, but also you get to see people at their best at many times too. So it's been very rewarding.
Wow. And I've always been kind of curious, is that a typical thing for an officer to do, or someone in law enforcement to jump around and move between those different positions?
Well, for me, I have to do something different, every few years.
Yeah.
It kind of keeps me interested and engaged. There are people that I hired on with, 2 other police officers that were hired within a day of myself, that they spent their whole 25-year career, in a patrol vehicle. They didn't do anything different. So I think it's really a personal choice. What do you want? Do you want to strictly be responsible for yourself and your own actions, right? And how productive you are and responsive to the calls for service? Or do you aspire to do something, more and take on more responsibility and have a larger, broader impact, not only on the community, but on the department itself? So that was my career path.
And so after a pretty varied career, what led you to want to apply when you saw the position open here in Saline?
Well, I felt that, throughout my leadership career and even back as a patrol officer, I always had a desire to lead an organization. And my boss at the time, the Director of Public Safety in Novi, he still has a few years left before he retires, and I just felt that myself personally, I was ready to take that leap to lead an organization. I was very specific on where I wanted to be, and certainly when I saw the job posting come up for the city of Saline, right away it was a no-brainer for myself and my family, to apply for the job. There's a lot of similarities in the sense of great school districts. Crimes are similar, mostly property crimes, identity theft, a lot fewer of them knock on wood, here in the city of Saline than in Novi. Very community oriented. So those were things that really spoke to me. And when I started doing my homework and talking to people that lived in Saline or the folks that live in the Saline area school district, they couldn't say enough good things about it. So it really helped me make my decision to apply.
So
very easy.
Yeah, it really was just looking for that right fit then. Yeah. And so what was that process like, the application, interviewing?
Well, obviously there's an application process, so it had been a long time since I had put together a resume for, a position outside of the police department, in Novi. So I actually sought, professional help with, creating a honest and honorable, resume that really reflected what Jared Hart was all about and what I can bring to the city of Saline. So once that process was done and my application was in, I received a phone call when I was out in Philadelphia for an International Association of Chiefs of Police conference, and I had a 1-hour phone interview with the Mercer Group, who the city had chosen to do their search, to help them with their search for their next chief of police. Conducted that hour-long phone interview. I thought, well, that they caught me in the middle of returning early to the community because we had a large water issue up in the city of Novi, so we were getting out of our rooms sooner than we had anticipated. So I think that was really meant to be, because that was the essence of me. They caught me in the middle of something. It wasn't prepared. It was just a cold call. Yeah. So in the sense, I thought that was a pretty wise move, for the search company to not have something scheduled, because then it's really who you are. So once that was complete, I heard something about 2 weeks later, was asked to participate in an interview, come in for an interview. That was conducted at the police department City Hall complex right there at 100 North Harris. So it came out and felt that I had a really good interview and really connected with the panel. There was the mayor and the city manager, Ed Toth, the chief from Chelsea. I can't remember. There was probably about 3 or 4 other people that were in the room. Council. There was another council member there as well. So that was a great process. Enjoyed my interview there, and then was invited to come back on, I believe it was a Thursday, for kind of a community meet and greet in the city council chambers along with another candidate. So we kind of met a lot of folks from the community and then sat down and had an hour-long interview in front of the full council.
And then you told me kind of a funny story about how you found out that you were chosen with your daughter was on Twitter, right?
Yeah, so it's so 2017, right? I'm sitting there, and of course people they have mixed emotions. They certainly don't want me to retire from the Novi Police Department, and longtime friendships there, and so they're constantly calling me, have you heard anything? Have you heard anything yet? The night of the council meeting. And I'm like, no, you guys will be the first to know. I'll send you out a group text. And then my daughter comes running out of the bedroom, that she found, I believe it was Tran, that was tweeting from the council meeting. So once council member CO, had given his take on things and had basically cast a vote for, myself, watching it all play out on Twitter was really interesting and exciting. My wife came out. She's in bed early. She gets up early for work, and my son's in there. So we're all in, the living room, and we're all watching this play out on my iPad. So it was a pretty awesome, surreal moment, for my family and myself. And of course, as soon as the council meeting was over, I get the formal phone call. So
Perfect.
That was pretty nice.
And so what was kind of running through your head when you realized that you had been chosen?
This is the time for me to perform, right? So all of the things that I wanted from a boss, throughout my career, had always said that if ever given the opportunity to lead an organization, that I would be very engaged, in what was going on in the community, be supportive of the officers, and to really lead from the front. Even this morning, earlier today, I was out answering a couple calls for service in a police vehicle. So to me, those are important things. If I try to put myself in the position of a police officer. What do I want my boss to be like? How do I want them, to lead the organization? From the city manager's perspective, what kind of a police chief do I want? From a city council's perspective, you know, what kind of chief of police do we want? And then right down into the community, right? Regardless of whether you're a student or, you know, retiree, or what your role is in the community, to be all inclusive, to try to meet the needs of many people.
And so that leads right into kind of looking forward. How do you see the department changing? What do you want to see happen? What are some big goals for you?
Well, probably one of the largest goals that I have is creating two opportunities for our police department and our community to engage more often. Now, the officers are doing a fantastic job. They're out on foot patrols, they're going into the businesses, they're making those connections that I feel are very important for us to have. We were at Winterfest, my wife and I came in early, put my uniform on, and went down with Officer Snook, and you know, we played a little broom ball, we participated in things there. I want those events to continue, but on a larger scale, I'd like to see us engage the community in a Citizens Police Academy. And this will be kind of a team effort, because you know, we lean on the Sheriff's Department for certain resources. The state police have a detachment office within the Saline Police Department. I have a relationship with the FBI, the Ann Arbor office, the Washtenaw Resident Agency, as they call it. So we're going to bring in a lot of folks, a lot of partners, to really give our community a glimpse of how we all work together. The days of having silos, right, should be over with. We should all be sharing information. We do, you know, for the most part. But people expect agencies to communicate with each other, to share information with each other, to work with each other. So we want to kind of showcase that, not only what's going on in Saline, but if something were to take off, these are the relationships that we have. It's a team effort, right, to keep our community safe. So that is one of my initiatives that we hopefully will be kicking off by mid-year. And then the other will be a Volunteers in Public Service, a VIPS program, where we will set aside a retired police vehicle. We'll mark it up with some VIPS graphics on there, get some shirts and uniforms and things for the folks to come out. And it's really an opportunity for them to come out, community members, to drive around our community, be a part of keeping it safe, enforcing handicap parking laws and some of our parking laws in our downtown area with the hour restrictions. So it's a way state law allows us to train individuals, volunteers, to do this work and go out. So they'll be in, you know, the police department, filling out some logs, going out, you know, in a Saline VIPS kind of car. I'm still try to come up with a trendy, crafty, neat name, you know, because we have, in the VIPS is the S, right? So I want to come up with something for Saline. So maybe that's something our viewers can help us out with.
Yeah,
but,
I have to.
yeah. So those are some initiatives that really want to get people involved more in the police department. Then we want to engage our youth. You know, this is a tough time for law enforcement. You know, we see a lot of things, and a lot of things we own, right? We have people that are wearing the uniform that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Now, my personal perspective is those situations are rare, but when it happens, whether it happens in California or Florida or Ohio or Saline, right? A cop is a cop. So police officers, you know, when something negative happens, people kind of label us all together, right? And that's a hard stigma to overcome. But by building these relationships and continuing, you know, with those initiatives, particularly with our young, to try to get that next generation of police officers. There's something that I've learned here in Saline, is that you have a lot of former residents, former students that are coming back, that are working at the Saline Police Department or at the City Hall or in the schools, right? So I think that is a tremendous compliment to our community here, is that people are coming home to work and they want to live here. So that's really nice. Some people like to get away from, you know, the area that they grew up in, right? So I want to tap into that with our reserve program, our cadets as well. So I want to get people involved in seeing a glimpse of what law enforcement's about, especially here in Saline, because it's a little different with each community. Saline police officers here, they're utility players, as I call them. They do a little bit of everything. You know, there's not a large investigative section where they can just turn a case over, for someone else to investigate. So they carry the ball, on these investigations, pretty far until we, have to assign it to someone else. So those are kind of some of the initiatives I have, but I really want to get our young adults involved in that cadet program. It's something that needs to be revived and resuscitated. So
I look forward to seeing that happen. With that in mind, kind of in community engagement, what's the best way for people to interact with you, with the department, kind of communicate their concerns or positive feedback, anything?
Certainly you can call the police department. I'm there most days. I'm one of those rare individuals that only needs about 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, so I'm always up and monitoring social media and email and cell phone and that. But we have a Facebook page, so the Saline Police Department Facebook page. We have a Twitter account, and certainly anyone can reach me by email at jhart@cityofsaline.org, or just stop by. I have never had so much coffee in my life. We have a lot of people here, and I anticipated it, that really want to have a personal relationship with the chief. They want to know who the chief is, and I'm encouraging not only the chief, but the officers that are there as well, and the dispatchers that are working the front counter. So I've been meeting a lot of folks at either Benny's or Brood Awakenings or Kerrigan's, just to sit down and have a cup of coffee and find out what's important to them in the community. So always open for those meetings.
Perfect. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything we didn't touch on you'd want people to know? Or?
I hope that my passion for the Saline community came out in the interview, because I really am passionate about, and the officers hear it all the time, is keeping Saline a safe place to live, to visit, to work, and of course to learn. So the schools are very important to us, but our community at large is as well. So I hope that came out today, is that I'm very excited to be here, and I look to be your chief of police for a long time.
Great. Well, we welcome you, and I know I'm a little bit late, but congratulations on the job.
Thank you very much.
And welcome to the community.
Thank you.